Bill Belichick made his first kind of official appearance at ACC Football Kickoff. I mean, it was the official appearance. And he had a chance to talk with the assembled media, and hopefully for some, they learned something new about the Carolina football team, which is really, since spring practices, has been kept under wraps. And spring practice is way different from fall practice based on who left and then also who came in. Joining us to talk about that and many more things Carolina is our good friend from Inside Carolina, Tommy Ashley, T. Ashley IC on X. Tommy Ashley in the flesh. Good to see you, friend.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me. Ready to talk some football.
Yeah, and I think we've all been ready to talk football. As Graham likes to say, inject it in my veins right now, right? This is that special time of year.
Absolutely.
38 days. 38 days until we actually see a meaningful snap from this Carolina football team. And Bill Belichick, brand new head coach, who's ready to take whatever team he has assembled on the field, is very vintage Bill Belichick. How would you rate his appearance and what he said about this team in 2025 that could get actually you excited and Heels fans excited about this upcoming year?
Ooh, that's a big question.
It
I
is.
mean, yesterday in Charlotte was absolutely insane. You referenced it, and all these folks are referencing it on tweets and whatever, but it was just an absolute circus around Belichick. I mean, it was literally like the Pied Piper with everybody following him around and basically ignoring everybody else on Thursday. Y'all mentioned Dabo Sweeney being there, and it was just madness. But as far as what was said from Belichick about this specific North Carolina team, not a whole lot. I mean, they're working hard, they're doing the right things, they're getting better. Where you got the Bill Belichick insight is if you ask him about something that wasn't related directly to the team or the season. You know, somebody asked about the fullbacks position, and he went on a 2 or 3 minute riff on that. And other people ask him about different former coaches or other aspects of NFL life, and he's very affable. He talks a lot. He laughed. He joked. But specifics about the 2025 North Carolina football team are few and far between. The players were off to the side and had their moments, but they're pretty good at coach speak as well. But still, the hype and excitement for this North Carolina season, not only among North Carolina fans, is real, and it was impressive yesterday to see it.
Tommy Ashley of Inside Carolina at T. Ashley IC on X, joining us on the Adam Gold Show. Staying away from the X's and O's a little bit, as if the Labor Day Monday Night Football College Edition couldn't get any more spectacular. It was announced yesterday that ESPN's College Game Day is going to be doing a pregame show, and then they're also doing a pregame show on the radio side of things. When it comes to that environment for the first game of the season and the debut of the Belichick era, Tommy, when's the last time that Carolina football had this much media presence surrounding them going into a season?
I don't know about, media presence in today is different than it was, even 5, 10, 15 years ago. You got a lot of websites and you got all that cover. But I went back when Greg Barnes and I talked outside the Hilton in Charlotte on our stand up after yesterday. I don't remember it being this much hype going into a season than maybe 2010, before the rug was pulled out. And then you go back to 97 in Mac's first year against that Florida State team. I mean, the hype around this program in 2010, they were expected to be really good. And Greg made this point. That was expected to be a top 10 football team with the potential to scare for the national championship. And they almost beat LSU with, all those players missing. This year, this team is not projected to be really good. I mean, decent, above decent. But the hype that's come along with Belichick, you just don't know. You don't know how much of the hype is real versus just the hype around Belichick. And I think it's the Belichick hype. But look, North Carolina paid a lot of money for Coach Belichick to come to Chapel Hill. They are getting that money back in spades in the press. We're talking about them. Everybody's talking about them. Everybody's covering them. Listen, guys, there were grown men in the media yesterday that were taking selfies in the breakout session with Belichick on the podium in the background. Tell me the last time you've ever seen that at an ACC football kickoff.
I want names, Tommy. I want names.
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I will protect the innocent, but I
Ross
was amazed.
was probably one of them.
I'm not going to name names. I will not admit or deny any name you announce, but It's madness. And as far as, I've covered it a long time, I'd have to go back to 97 or that 2010 season for when the hype and expectations were this high. And quite frankly, I'm not sure that those years can match it, given what we saw yesterday.
Tommy Ashley of Inside Carolina joining us here on the Adam Gold Show, Paul Ihander and Graham Hill. I think it was good, Tommy, that when it came to the players and them sitting down with the reporters and the media, the podcasters, et cetera, content creators, guys like Jordan Shipp and Lopez, they were all saying, like, we don't worry about the off-the-field stuff. We see it, but our focus is on football. And I think for me, that's refreshing to understand that they're dialed in, regardless of whatever circus is playing around them, whether they're paying attention, whether they're dialed into it or not, and the NIL and all the other things that come along with it, that they're here to play football and they understand they're playing for a legendary coach that might be able to teach them something.
Absolutely. And I think that's a benefit for this team because of all of that that's going on with Belichick and all that noise and the hype off the field. You're right. The players appear to be 100% dialed in on the field, and that's where it matters because ultimately, all of this stuff we're talking about doesn't matter if they go out and lose football games. If they go out and go 6-6, they're going to be people across the country that are pleased. There are going to be people across the country, and especially in Chapel Hill, that are devastated. But the players have to ultimately do it, and I think they are benefiting from not themselves being in the spotlight so much. Now, some of that has to do with Belichick and his staff not really letting the players be in the spotlight too much. But those four that were there yesterday spoke a lot about just working and working under or behind the scenes while everything else goes on off the field. I think it's a definite benefit for this football team that stuff does not seem to have carried over onto the practice field. We'll see what happens on Labor Day, but I think they're doing it the right way player-wise for sure.
Tommy Ashley of Inside Carolina joining myself and Paul Ihander on the Adam Gold Show. Belichick emphasized a lot player development through that NFL-style pipeline at the college level. How compelling do you think that pitch is for both recruiting and also how might it reshape the recruiting battle that we see not just here in the Triangle but also across the ACC?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I talk to it a lot. We talk about it a lot with Don Callahan. Ultimately, it comes down to fit and development, but supremely, ultimately, if that's even a way to put it, it comes down to the financial factor these days for a lot of guys. And if somebody offers you, Graham, if somebody offered you, $3 million to go somewhere for me as your coach versus, $500,000 for Bill Belichick as your coach, where are you going to go? And those decisions may have to be made. But I think player development is one thing that has lacked the last several years in North Carolina, where we saw highly ranked recruiting classes not really pan out and produce their, likeness in the win column. But I think Belichick and his staff are proven to be able to do that. And I think it's important for guys. I think we'll see it pick up in the 26 cycle and then the 27 cycle in high school recruiting. And then the portal, is so transactional in the portal. Yes, they want to be coached. Yes, they want to be developed, but yes, they want a bag. And I'm not speaking about every single player across the board, but that money is still extremely important in a lot of these eyes.
Tommy, with the moments we have left with you, and maybe this is one of those things that hasn't been said and is maybe only hoped for, and we know what hope is. Hope's a dangerous mistress for sure. And it was tongue-in-cheek when Pat Narduzzi, head coach of Pitt, said, I expect him to be in the championship game against Pitt this year. You got Bill Belichick, you better be, right? And Mike Norvell at Florida State being very reverent to Bill Belichick as well. But I go back to the Narduzzi thing. Is this, or where is this fall in terms of the hopes and the unsaid things about North Carolina and Carolina fans right now? That the expectation, with great responsibility, great expectations, right? That a championship or bust when you bring in a guy like Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I often say it's not the despair that gets you, it's the hope. And I think we're there with this team. And, I think it's unrealistic to think they play for an ACC championship this year just because they don't have the dudes that they need yet. But the schedule's awfully soft, and they should win games. They should not lose games that they should win like they've done in the past. They've always had one or two of those what is happening games. And if you erase those, then you push yourself up towards the top. Narduzzi, that was classic Narduzzi, putting the great expectations on the shoulder of the Carolina program. And if they don't meet it, everybody can say, look, they did all this, they gave all this money, and they still didn't win. But I think realistically for North Carolina fans, I think you should expect 8 wins this year. Anything less, I think, is a disappointment, bordering massive disappointment. Um, and if something happens and it all clicks and they win 10, 11 ball games, then I think it just tells you what the future is going to be like. And then you start looking in 26 and 27 as possible opportunities if they're still in the ACC to win the ACC.
Yeah, I saw that from you guys too. Very quickly, SEC, ACC. That doesn't feel like a surprise to me, though, Tommy. That Carolina would be exploring kind of a chance to shine on what is arguably the largest spotlight in college football.
Absolutely, and you've always got to be looking ahead. And I think North Carolina's administration, with the people they've put in place, both at the highest levels on campus and within the athletic department, I think they're acutely aware of the need to explore those opportunities. And look, I'm from North Carolina. I'm not an old Southern Conference guy. I'm not that old, but give me the SEC any day. I would not complain at all having to go down to Ole Miss or Baton Rouge to cover ball games.
Well, some people like New Coke and Coke Classic, and some people prefer Pepsi, as we know here in North Carolina, Tommy. Tommy Ashley, Inside Carolina. Appreciate you, friend. Good to see you again.
Yeah, appreciate y'all having me this year, and good luck in the future.
All right, Tommy Ashley, Inside Carolina. T. Ashley IC on X is where you can follow him.